As we have learned in our previous discussion, art is very difficult to define. Philosophers and art experts alike couldn't agree on everything about art except one, that defining art is near impossible. But towards the last part of the 1800s, one great writer tried his hand on this enigmatic pursuit. Born in Russia on September 9, 1828, Lev Nikolaevich Tolstoy, or Leo Tolstoy, had proven himself to be one of the greatest writers of all time, producing monumental pieces in literature such as Anna Karenina and War and Peace, among others. Known for his straightforward and unabashed writing, it is no wonder why his book What is Art offended readers upon its publication in 1897. The inspiration of this book was Leo Tolstoy's visit to an opera rehearsal. Now, what could go wrong, you may ask? Well, it turns out that Leo Tolstoy was not a big fan of it. Moreover, this experience led him to ask three vital questions. And these questions are so haunting that they put art defenders and art enthusiasts of then and now to their knees. The following are Leo Tolstoy's questions. Number 1. Should lives be stunted in the service of art? Number 2. Should we compromise our morality for art? Number 3. Is art enough justification for anger? Lives stunted by art. Upon entering the opera house, Tolstoy instantly noticed the harsh working conditions of the laborers. He saw carpenters who seemed to have been working for extra long hours just to make sure that the stage and the props were ready. This was probably one of his first encounters with the sometimes harsh and oftentimes demanding world of art. He looked at the laborers and he immediately thought that these workers were not in any way consumers of the art that they are trying to painstakingly build, and yet their lives were stunted by it. He continued to trek his way towards the stage of the opera house, and he realized that an opera has more components off stage than on. He saw sewers who were constantly adjusting, mending, and stitching costumes, painters who were retouching, painting over, and painting anew non-stop, and finally, on stage, he saw actors, singers, and dancers standing for hours awaiting their turn to perform. A new question surfaced. What for? He also mentioned the fact that most of these performers spent all of their lives perfecting their craft, and as a result, there is a possibility that they have little to no knowledge about anything else. Art and morality. As Tolstoy continued to explore the dark halls towards the main stage, he saw some performers backstage waiting for their turn. For Tolstoy, the sight was far from being pleasant. He noticed how men were dressed in tights and how some women were not hesitant on dressing and baring their almost naked bodies to everyone in the room. He found these things morally disturbing. He also took a jab on the dancers who, according to him, were wearing skimpy costumes while making voluptuous movements. Lewd is the term that the prude Leo used to describe the performance. This scenario made him ask the question, should we sacrifice our morality to art? Anger justified by art. When Leo Tolstoy finally reached the stage, he saw the directors organizing a part of the performance. He was deeply bothered by how the directors shouted at the actors, calling them names, insulting them, berating them, as if there was an exchange between a god and insignificant beings. He found discomfort on how inhumane the situation was, which led him to asking another question. Should anger be justified by art? In his visit to an opera rehearsal, Tolstoy was able to ask questions that many of the people during those times were too scared to ask. It was like the emperor's new clothes of that time. Not many were brave enough to point out some flaws because they were too afraid to be branded or to be seen as someone uncultured or crass. But Leo Tolstoy did not let anyone hold him back. Aside from the 3 questions he was able to ask in our previous discussion, he also pointed out the following issues. Number 1. Discrepancies of salaries. Tolstoy did not shy away from discussing things such as compensation. He mentioned that the dancing master's salary per month is equal to the salaries of 10 laborers in a year. Number 2. Government funding. He also questioned how the Russian government during those times allocate huge amount of funds for art. He furthered by stating that the working people of Russia during those times were being taxed for something that only a few can enjoy. Number 3. The hypocrisy of art patrons. Towards the end of the first chapter, Tolstoy was able to say probably one of the most controversial statements in the entire book. And here is the quote. So one is quite at a loss as to whom these things are done for. The man of culture is heartily sick of them, while to a real working man they are utterly incomprehensible. If anyone can be pleased by these things, which I am doubtful, it can only be some young footman or depraved artisan who has contracted the spirit of the upper classes, but is not yet satiated with their amusements and wishes to show his breeding. Now, one thing is for certain, Leo Tolstoy was not at all impressed with the art forms during those times. And he has strong opinions about it. But how about you? Do you agree with his ideas about art? Now, to my USC students, I was able to post a PDF file of the book What is Art in your portal. Please read it, and next meeting, be prepared to answer the following questions. Number 1. Do you agree with the points raised by Leo Tolstoy? Number 2. Do you think the points made by Leo Tolstoy are still relevant to the art scene today? I cannot wait to hear your ideas about it. That's why, my friends, see you in our synchronous lesson next meeting. In the meantime, thank you for watching and have a good day.